We are really a team of teams by sending your members to these events and building trust. That's really what it's all about. The real power of all of this is in that network. Together, we're much smarter, and together we can accomplish a lot more. I think it's really important to help bring new people in and make sure that they get opportunities.
What's going on, analysts? Welcome to the channel where we talk about all things crime analysis. In this video, I spoke with Lieutenant Glen Mills, President of the Massachusetts Association of Crime Analysts. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm here in Chicago at the IACA conference and had the opportunity to interview Lieutenant Glen Mills of the Burlington Police Department in Massachusetts. He's the MACA president and is the chair of the Regional and Chapters Committee of the IACA. He also moderates the opensourcepolicing.org website, which is a resource for free and open source products for law enforcement. I asked Glen to talk to me about his early start in law enforcement, crime analysis, and some words of wisdom. And here's how it went.
So my name's Glen Mills. I'm a police lieutenant in Burlington, Massachusetts. That's a community about 15 miles northwest of Boston on Interstate 95. It's about a diamond shape, 11.8 square miles. About 28,000 people live there, according to the last census. We're really well known for a large shopping mall, the Burlington Mall, as well as a huge hospital, Leahy Clinic. They got too big for Boston. They moved out to the suburbs years ago. We have a lot of corporate headquarters there, Oracle and some other companies. Now we're getting a lot of biotech companies. Our daytime population, it more than doubles from our nighttime population. So that makes for a pretty interesting community. It's pretty well-to-do, very fortunate. Well, I wouldn't say it's like a rich community. It's kind of climbed from a working class more to an upscale sort of place. Lots of restaurants and shops and a good variety of businesses and different people to work with. I'm a second-generation police officer. My father started probably just before I was born in the late 60s, early 70s. And he always told me, don't become a police officer. But I think secretly he was happy when I did become one. And I always said, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something different. But I always secretly kind of knew this was what I always felt like I was meant for. So I started in 1992. We have, in Massachusetts, you could be something called a special police officer, where you have the same authority, you just work part-time. And in Massachusetts, a lot of communities require you to hire a police detail if you're going to do construction on the road and things like that. So I did that. While I was doing that, I did an internship with my agency. I didn't get college credit for it or anything, just because I wanted to learn the business. In 1993, we were appointed as permanent intermittent police officers. And we had civil service back then, and that meant that eventually they had to hire you full-time. So I was on that status for about 3-4 years, worked a few shifts while I was an intermittent, a dozen shifts, where I was with another officer doing calls and things. And then in 1996, I got hired full-time. I went to the Lowell Police Academy, and I went to the first Lowell Police Academy, the first. My father went to the last Lowell Police Academy, decades before. They had not had an academy in decades. My academy was based on a community policing model. Ed Davis, who's pretty well known, really believes in analysis, and we've had him speak at the MACA conference. He was the chief of the Lowell PD at the time. And they built that academy on more of a community model as opposed to less emphasis on the paramilitary, yelling at people all the time kind of thing. I mean, we still got a good dose of that, but it was more academic, more professional. We were required to do different types of community events. So we had to go to a homeless shelter and volunteer there. We had to go ride in an ambulance. We had to see the courts. We had to do a lot of different things that some academies don't make you do. So it was pretty unique. I was in a unique position where I had experience beforehand, and then coming into the academy, it was all very natural for me because I had already had a part-time academy and I'd become an EMT before that. So it made it a little bit easier to get through that whole thing. It's kind of interesting. I've always been a big reader. I like to learn, and I always feel like I never know anything, and I want to learn everything that I can. So learning about policing. I picked up a few books and read articles, and thinking, I was always thinking, you know, there's got to be a better way of doing what we're doing right now. Like, I get into my car and we drive around randomly, and we're gonna get random results. And there's not a lot of strategy here. You'd see some officers were really good, excellent, and others weren't. And I was always thinking, what's the difference? It's because some of these officers were more systematic in how they thought, and they built upon things that they knew, whereas others could have cared less. And when I looked at crime analysis, so it was kind of funny. We had a series of house breaks, and this was my basic crime analysis, my first time I did a map. And this is before you could map things online. It's literally in the the 90s, and I looked at all of where the house breaks were happening, and it was the street I grew up on in Burlington. And I knew from growing up there that there were certain pathways that ran through the woods behind those streets. When I was a kid, they used to let kids play in the woods. Now you would never see that, but I knew that area really well. So I started putting dots on the map, and then I started recording the times, the days and the times, and I made kind of a little matrix and some patterns. And when I looked at it, I said, you know what? I would bet anything these are probably middle school or high school kids. Based on, it's always in the late afternoon, like right after school, and based on the fact that they're using these paths where if an adult was seen walking around in those areas, people would probably call the police, whereas kids would be invisible. And sure enough, did a little more research, and they were caught in the next town over, but it surely was. It was two kids from middle school, and everything that I said that I anticipated about them was true. So I said, wow, this could actually be expanded into more than this stupid little series of house breaks. We should be doing this all the time for everything. And then in 2004, after 9/11, a lot of people may not remember this, there was this rush to do something. And the big rush was, we're gonna put non-supervisory personnel, we're gonna give police departments overtime to stick non-supervisory personnel out in the streets, and emphasis on different areas that might be vulnerable targets, which is silly, right? You look back now and you go, wow, that was just like taking a shotgun and shooting it into the woods. I mean, what are we gonna hit? So we had officers out there walking around our reservoirs, and my chief at the time, he was a founding member of MACA, the Mass Association of Crime Analysts, and he wanted to do something with that, so he couldn't have supervisory personnel. And at the time, I'm a sergeant. I made sergeant in 2001, before 9/11. And he put out an email. He intended it for only patrol, but he had also sent it to the command officers. And when I saw that he wanted to get us involved in crime analysis, I said, I have to get involved in this. And I was a sergeant at the time in patrol. But I said, listen, I've read these books. I actually know what this is. And I can tell you right now, most of our officers have no idea. And I would really like to be involved in some way. So he picked a patrol officer. He got the overtime. And I got, well, okay, you can go to the MACA conference. And that was in 2004. So I went to the MACA conference. Fantastic. And within a short time, so that was 2004, 2006, I had people asking me, you should run for vice president. You have a lot of great ideas. So I did. I got that position. And Deb Peel was the president at the time. And then a few years later, when Deb stepped down, I became president of MACA, I think in 2010, which is kind of silly now, because now it's like, it's like North Korea. Like, I'm the leader for life. I've been the president there forever. And I'll tell people, please run against me if you think you can do something better and you have new ideas. I'm all for that. But nobody's really, I guess they're happy with me in that position, so I guess that's a good thing. But at some point, we're going to have to kind of move on and do something different. It was founded by a police officer from Waltham, Massachusetts, Rob Sterring, along with Chris Bruce, and a few other people. And I've always taken my philosophy, Chris Bruce said something years ago, and I don't know if he would even remember this, but he said, you know, when you do these things, you go out there to help people and just don't expect anything in return. And if you want to make money and stuff, that'll come later. You know, that's not a priority. So I've just always been like that with my policing career, and in everything I do, I'm just interested in helping people. You know, and if I'm not helping people, then what's the point? I could do something different. You know, I have some capabilities. I'm not a great crime analyst, honestly. It's kind of funny that everyone's like, oh, you must know everything. I don't really actually do that kind of work. I sort of dabble in it whenever I have to, but I also have a lot of other interests, right? But I always make them relate back to, there's some tie-in with that crime analysis world, right? So I think those people who came before, so Rob Sterring, Chris Bruce, and Deb Peel, they were a great influence on me and thinking about what can you do with this professional association. And the mission of MACA, it is on our website, and among those things that we want to do is we want to further the professional crime analysis. We want to help get other agencies to use it. We want to further all other benefits that come to any type of policing. And Chris said this years ago as well. It doesn't matter what kind of policing you are into. Community policing, problem-oriented policing, evidence-based policing, whatever it is, it all ties into analysis, doesn't it? Even community policing, which nobody can even give you a good definition of, you still need really good data and analysis to drive that. And I feel that too many police departments are doing random things, and we could maybe focus more. And on the other side of MACA, we have the members, and our membership is fantastic. Every chance I get, if I can help someone who's coming in as a student, if I can be a mentor to them or help them in any way, I try to, or if I can connect people. I like connecting people. That's one of the fun things I get to do is, earlier today, somebody said, hey, do you know an analyst in Boston? Yeah, of course I do. But I said, yeah, contact this person. They would normally be here. For some reason, they're not here this year. But it's reach out to them, and then they can put you in touch with the right people. So that's one great thing about that. It's just all this network that together we're much smarter, and together we can accomplish a lot more. And I think it's really important to help bring new people in and make sure that they get opportunities. Some people have come into this field where I was lucky. I was a second-generation police officer. So I had an unfair advantage, really. I come into my police department. I knew a lot more than some people who just came in off the street who had no idea what this world was like. So I feel like I should try to help people who are trying to come into these fields with some of my knowledge so that they would have the same advantage, like having a family member in that field that could give them good advice. If you need information, if I called, let's say, the Toronto Police Department, and I'm just Glen Mills from Burlington, Massachusetts, I might get like, let me see who I can put you in touch with. I'm not sure. Are they around? I don't know. Whereas when you were working in Toronto, and right when we met briefly, we were at a conference together for a short time, but I know from that point forward, while you worked for that agency, hey Manny, I need something. And how fast would I get it? Just like that, right? And same thing, you needed something, Burlington, Massachusetts, not that you probably, less chance, but it's these power of these networks, and it really drives me crazy that you see police chiefs that are reluctant to send their people to training conferences. And I tell them, you know what, all of these sessions that we've had in here, they're all great, but really what you're getting back from these conferences and these events is that powerful network. So when you're analyst, if you're part of MACA and you go to all the monthly meetings and you need information 3 cities away or on the other side of the state or anywhere in New England where we have members, and even as far south as New Jersey and up into Canada, you make a phone call and you're gonna get right through. And there's a big difference between calling someone you don't know who might just be like, okay, I gotta get rid of this call and help, oh yeah, here's the information you need by, versus somebody, when you call them, hey, how you doing, how you been? Oh, you're looking for that? Let me tell you something, I know that guy, and I know his 6 friends, and I know, and they're going to be more helpful, if that makes sense. They're going to be a lot more helpful when you build those relationships, that trust. There's a great book out there, and I would recommend everyone in policing read it. It was about our war in Afghanistan it's Stanley McChrystal, the general. It's called Team of Teams. And if you look at that philosophy, that's sort of been influencing my thinking the past few years is we are really a team of teams. If you have a team here and a team here and a team in this city and they don't talk to each other, we're not being anywhere near as effective as we could be. Whereas if you have connections drawn between these teams by sending your members to these events and building trust, and this to this to this. If I introduce you to someone that I know and I say, man, he's a good guy, that connection is made because they know, oh, he's not going to lead me astray. I trust him. Same with you. You introduce me to someone. You say, oh, Glen Mills is a good guy. He can help you out. That makes us all better. So organizations like MACA, that's really what it's all about. It's that network. And we do great training. You know, don't get me wrong, that's all excellent too. But the real power of all of this is in that network and that team of teams. So MACA being one team of the IACA, and I can call people up in Marcan, and I can call people up out in California, down in Florida, all over the planet. I can call someone. I have a friend in Austria, right? We have a mutual friend there. Austria, you know, I have friends in England, in Canada. I now have like a local police officer from a 68 officer department outside of Boston. I can reach out to people around the world if I need to, and I'm going to have a much better chance of getting the information that I need. And that's for my whole agency. That's not just me, that's my agency, right? So there's a lot of power in that. So I'm actually, you're asking about 2 years, but I'm really on a 3-year timeline because I've come to a point now where I started working for the town of Burlington when I was 14 years old. I worked every summer as a school custodian. I became a full-time school custodian when I was 18 years old, you know, almost 19. I have a lot of time. In our state, to retire at 80% pension, full pension, you generally need to be about age 55 with 32 years. Well, I've already passed 32 years. So as I get up, I'm only 3 years away now from being maxed out. And if I keep working after that in my same agency, I'm really working for free, right? Or $2 a week or whatever it works out to be in the end. So to me, I look forward and I think, wow, this is a really short amount of time. When you talk about legacy, I don't feel like, oh, have I left a legacy or not? I'm worried now in my agency. I have to start getting other people to do things because there are a lot of things in our agency we should be doing more of that we're not. So I'm trying to get more people involved. I do our social media. I built up a pretty decent following there on multiple platforms, and I got a newer officer he's into it. So I'm supporting that. I'll send him to all the training that I can. I need someone to take that over. Our critical infrastructure, we don't really have anyone. We don't have anyone in crime analysis. We just hired a part-time analyst. But if I leave and retire, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Even though we have grant funding for that position, we got a $500,000 grant over a 10-year period that's contributing to that position. So what happens when I leave? Does the department say, oh, I guess we don't do that anymore? Give the money back? So I'm starting to kind of be concerned about these things. I do want things to continue after I'm gone. With MACA and the IACA, I feel like at least I can probably stay involved with those things no matter what I do afterwards. And honestly, I don't know. I'm like a little kid right now again, like coming out of high school, thinking, what am I going to do? I have to figure out, am I going to do a job for a private company? Am I going to work in another police agency? I honestly, right now, I don't know. But as you know, as you get older, time flies by faster. And 3 years, 2 years is nothing. It's a blip now. 3 years is a very short time. It's going to fly by like that. And I need to kind of start figuring out what am I going to do now. But I do hope to continue with MACA and the IACA and another organization involved with Police Futurists International. I could stay a member of that forever. I'm a board member on that. I hope to continue with these things. I hope to be able to help out, but I don't know what the future is going to bring. So I'm kind of in a little bit of a weird spot right now. I don't know. I have an opportunity to get promoted soon, but that's not worked out in the past for me. So I don't know. I'm a little apprehensive right now. If I stay where I'm at, that's fine. I like what I'm doing, but it is. It's going to change. How long do I stay? Do I really want to leave? Now, or do I want to wait a few years? But I have to come up with a plan, and I certainly can't stay home and do nothing. Right? This is not me. Yeah, so it's funny, getting into crime analysis many years ago, we always had these challenges between crime analysis and IT. Right? The IT department, they're like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, precious. They don't want anyone touching the computers or doing anything with the computers. Whereas the analyst says, no, I need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So more recently, they'll call that shadow IT, where people figure out workarounds outside of what their private companies would offer them, and in our cases, what their police departments or cities or towns offer them. So I started looking for all these things because I wanted to do something like, oh, I want to do a map. Well, I can't run out and buy Esri for thousands of dollars. I don't have that kind of budget. What's my budget? Zero. So I started looking for free software, and I found this whole world of free and open source software. And I kind of had almost like a John Nash moment. I was sitting around, and that was the guy in the movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe. I don't know if you remember that movie. He was sitting around trying to come up with a new idea. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to come up with a new idea, and I said, what would be great? In policing, I look at Massachusetts has 350 police departments or so. And then you look around the country, we have in the US over 18,500 police departments. All of them are doing different things, but they're all running out. They have to buy software for this and that, and we're doing it over and over and over again. And all this money is being spent on all of these different systems. Why can't we share more of this information? Why can't we share software? Why can't we share training? Why can't we share ideas, books? So you have this frustration a lot of times where you can't go out and buy these expensive software packages. So there's so many free tools out there. So I got this idea of open source policing, put together a website, and the first presentations I was doing was on free stuff. And I think that was around 2009 or so. And then I added to it and I would update it. People would ask questions. Do you know a free way to do this or a free way to do that? And it turned into a pretty good sized presentation where I could literally talk a full day about all these resources. I also got into other things, social media. Back in the days of MySpace, I said this is going to become very important across the board. This is going to be the way people communicate in the future. It's through various social networks. And that turned out to be true, and it's always a hot topic. Open source intelligence has entirely changed from what it used to be, reading newspapers and books, going to the library. Now it's all done online, and a lot of it is social networks. I got into critical infrastructure protection. We have Homeland Security. Well, people think of that as like a big federal agency and I'm more of a believer in hometown security. Right? And I didn't make that term up, that was the US federal government, but hometown security being looking at these issues across your locality. And we've seen in the Boston area, we've had a number of incidents that were terrorist incidents that originated in smaller cities and towns or ended in smaller cities or towns, like Watertown, Massachusetts, and Amesbury, Mass. I mean, we've had a lot of that. So I looked at, the federal government has all these great free resources. We can take advantage of that. So every time somebody says, well, we don't have a budget. Well, guess what? I can tell you how to do free software. I can tell you how to get all kinds of free training. You name it, there's a free training out there for it. I want to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. You can probably do it for free. Now, the only thing is you need to invest more time. Right? If you're going to pay for something, you can get a nice software package that you hit a button, it automates everything for you, versus you may have to spend dozens of hours learning how to do it yourself. I enjoy that kind of thing myself, learning new things, but you're also constrained by time. There's just never enough time in the day. Training, if you're in the US, you work in this field. I've gone to New Mexico and watched them blow stuff up. It costs nothing. They literally paid for your flight, your rental car, hotel, class tuition, meals, give you a per diem check on top of it. They're paying you. The only thing your agency needs to do is say, yeah, go ahead and go. And we have that all over the US. We have schools all around the country that you can go to for free to learn a million different skills. And then local and regional stuff. MEMA, the Mass Emergency Management Agency, runs the classes for FEMA in our area. So I just got certified a few weeks ago in Homeland Security exercise and evaluation planning. Like, I can put on a full-scale exercise now. Now I know how to do that. Suspicious activity reporting, you name it, any topic. There's pretty much something out there for you. Going to conferences, yeah, it costs a little money, but you want to save some money, do a presentation, they waive your tuition. You know, IACA is really good, they give you a one-night hotel. Now your agency, you can say, hey, I want to go to this training program, a week of training. It's only going to cost, you know, a flight, and instead of the full tuition, there's no tuition, because I'm going to present, and then, you only have to pay for 4 nights hotel instead of 5. Like, how great is that, right? So you should always be looking, and this is going back to the new analysts, here's some advice. Learn how to do something really well that you can present on in a local monthly event in your regional association, or you can do a webinar, or you can do it at an IACA conference, right? You build up. Start small and build up a big program, and many, many people here have turned that into like full-time careers, teaching that topic that they started years ago. We had a great guy at the last MACA conference. His name's Gordon Graham. He's very well known in policing. He owns Lexapol and Police One, among other things. Well, he started out with somebody had a question about PCP. Okay, so he was a California highway patrolman. He was literally on the TV show Chips in the background, some of the episodes. And something happened where one of the highway patrol troopers had an incident, somebody on PCP, and Gordon Graham says, I gotta learn everything there is to know about PCP. He puts together a little booklet and he hands it out to the people in his squad. Somebody saw it. Hey Gordon, can you do a presentation on that and roll call? And he started doing roll calls. Hey Gordon, you know, that's really good. Can you go talk to the other division about this? Yeah, and he did that. And then next thing you know, they're flying him up to Sacramento. We want you to brief the whole entire California Highway Patrol. The LAPD, it turned into a really big thing. But just think about that. That's all it was he started with one topic that was a roll call training. And then expanded and expanded. And then now he knew how to sort of like create that process. Let me start with a small presentation. Let me build it up to an hour or 2 hour a day. But now once you do it the first time, like I started a lot with free stuff. Once I did that, I can do any topic now. So whatever I'm interested in, like I presented here, I started doing social media years ago when it was MySpace. And that's evolved now in recent years to disinformation. Very hot topic at the Homeland Security level, but there really aren't a lot of people talking about it at the local level. And it's something I strongly believe is going to really affect us at every level, right? And now people are like, wow, you were right. So I turned that into, you know, here's a little brief thing, a little article, and then you can expand it out. School safety and security. Here's another area I got in 2 years ago. I've been pretty fortunate. I work for an agency that has really good training budget, and they'll send us places. But now I can speak with some authority on this topic because I've done so much training and gone to so many conferences and events. And now I think the highest level of learning, and I'd say this to your new analysts, is teaching. If you're going to teach a topic, that's a big difference between I'm going to learn it. When you teach it, you really need to know it, right? That's the highest level of learning that you can really take. So if you want to be the person who's an expert in making Esri maps on a certain way, then try teaching it. And if you can teach it, and you can answer all the questions that your audience gives you, you're an expert, right? So try to develop some expertise. Be the person who's like, wow, I know an expert on that, right? Maybe hopefully you and I will be calling this person who watched this and got kind of inspired to do that, and hey, I got a question on this, and we'll be calling them, right, years from now. Something, theme that's come up throughout the week, which is really encouraging, is that a lot of police departments are hiring now. They're hiring analysts. So there are chiefs out there seeing the value of this. That's really important. If, in the past, if the profession is not valued, it makes it a lot harder, right? And then some agencies would just hire an analyst just because, oh, we're supposed to. And that's just bad. So I would say for a new analyst, you have a lot more opportunity than you've ever had before. You know, of course, I'm a police officer. When I started, and it's the same thing across many professions now, as police officers in Massachusetts, if you wanted to take the exam, there were literally 20 or 30,000 people. And you were competing against hundreds and hundreds of people to try to get a job. Today, we're running our own tests locally, and I heard last week we had about a dozen people signed up. And there are multiple jobs that are going to open up. So the opportunities are unlike anything we've had before. Secondly, I've noticed the generational thing. And I always have to preface this, and I'm not saying any generation is bad. You hear that from a lot of older people. This generation today, they're just on their phones all the time. And I always just say, listen, the younger generations, they're just different. That's all. It's not good or bad, they're just different. So maybe their interpersonal communication skills, a lot of them find it more challenging, okay? But I was sort of thinking this morning, and during one of the sessions on managing a crime analysis unit, I was thinking, you know, a lot of the officers that we're getting now, their personality types are trending more towards like an analyst personality type. They're having a hard time communicating. And that was always the big difference between officers being more extroverted and analysts being more introverted. But I see them coming closer together now. So maybe those gaps, I think those could become less as we look into the future. Because we're seeing a lot of this, well, it's kind of hard to talk to people. You know, introverts can be like that naturally, whereas even extroverted people today are challenged because they grew up with all this technology. They have a harder time just talking to people. So with our officers, we've been trying to, you know, I got a big 30-foot virtuous simulator, and we throw them in there and we make them talk. And we're trying to get them to talk to people, right, and communicate really well. De-escalation is the buzzword now, but we've been doing this for years. We're trying to get people to communicate better. And I think the analysts and the officers in the future, I think they're going to have an easier time communicating with each other, believe it or not. I'm optimistic in that area. So we have analysts being appreciated more analysts being hired. We're seeing probably better communication. We're seeing less of these trends of, you know, oh, you're a civilian, police are here and civilians are here. That's disappearing in a lot of places, which is great. Overall, I'm really optimistic. So I think the analysts today, they're pretty fortunate, really. They can do whatever they want, whatever they set their mind to. And if you're going to do that, what I would then say are a couple of things. First off, you want to say yes whenever you can. But be careful. Don't say yes to everything. Have a good work-life balance, right? Because that's really challenging. Police officers, really like the worst of the worst. So I've been married, 27 years now. And in policing, that's almost rare, right? You don't see that too often. But there were hard times because I didn't have a good work-life balance. So now I try not to do overtime. I try not to work everything. I don't worry about money. You want to work hard when you're at work, but don't get so wrapped up in it that it becomes everything. And I'm one of these people, believe me, I'm always thinking, I can't even turn it off, police stuff, you know. And I try to read a book, and I'm like, oh, I could apply this to police, you know. I just do that with everything. I'm watching a TV show, it's just always there, and I have to try to back down from that at times. So I would say yes to opportunities. Try to do new things, push yourself. Every chance you get to present, do that. Every chance you get to network, do that. But also maintain a good work-life balance. So those are my words of wisdom, I guess.
That was Glen Mills, Police Lieutenant, MACA President, IACA Regional Committee Chair, and friend. Thanks for checking out this episode from the All About Analysis channel. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like, hit subscribe, click that bell, and don't forget to share this video. See you next time.